Okay, let me go over the script that I used to close 83% of the people who came into my service-based business. And this is also the exact same script that I used to teach my new sales professional who also maintained an 83% close rate as well. I'm going to go over the 6 steps that are in here and the psychology behind it. So it isn't just, hey, use this script and for yourself and then adapt it to what you use, what you maybe your service-based business is. But these are the exact psychological factors inside of it that help me get that 83% close rate and not just something that was some words that I said to people. There's some very important things in here that if you follow, you put them into your script and then you refine it to whatever is going to work for you, because you're going to have to kind of go through this and then do some course correcting and some adjusting to this. It's going to help you as well. Okay, let's get into those steps right now. Okay, step 1, before I read what it is, I want you to understand the very first thing that I was trying to achieve here. The very first step of this was to get permission. I wanted to get permission from the customer or the prospect that was standing on the opposite side of me, so that way I could get kind of like the first yes. All right. So in sales, you always want to get people to start like saying yes to you and shaking their head up and down. Yes, that's what I want. Because if they're starting to nod and go, no, like in their mind, or they're, just doing slight little nods, you're going to start getting them to say no. And that's going to kind of build upon itself. And then before you know it, you're trying to overcome more and more objections. And the goal was for me to get the resistance down as much as possible by using permissions and getting permission from the other person that it was okay to move forward. Because I always felt that sales was kind of pushy for a lot of people. And I didn't want to push anybody anymore. I was tired of that. I was tired of pitching, and I was tired of trying to get them to buy. I just wanted to present what I had, and if they wanted it, great. If they didn't want it, great. I just want to move on to the next. Okay, so let's read this first thing on here. I haven't adjusted this for a long time, so it pretty much would stay solid from the beginning, and you're going to see some underlines, and that those underlined parts are names or something that I'd put in there. So let's say that the person standing in front of me is Jeff and their child is Dylan, and that's what I'm going to use. Okay, Jeff, let's get started. The intention and purpose of this meeting is to do a deeper dive into what you are hoping Dylan can get from the program. I want to make sure I fully understand the challenges you face. After I am done finding out a little more information, would it be okay if I let you know what my recommendations are for Dylan? And I'm doing that because I want the parent to be able to say yes. If they say no, I'm not really, I don't really looking for any recommendations or anything like that, then there's no need for me to go any further with the meeting. The meeting is a waste of time for them and a waste of time for me. And honestly, it's a waste of time for the other students, or maybe a next parent who want to spend some time with me to talk over the challenges that they face. So if they say no, I was going to end it. I wouldn't end it like rudely, but I would say, hey, say something tactful to them and be more of kind of like, okay, well, based on that answer to that question, then it's maybe not a good fit for us to continue forward. And I think it's best that you just continue to look around for something for Dylan. If it's great, if they say yes, then I'm going to move on to step 2. Now, step 2, when I read this next part to you, it's all about finding value. I want to know what is valuable to that customer. Okay, everybody has a different barometer or measure for value. What one person thinks is valuable, the next person doesn't think at all. They're like, nope, that's not valuable to me. This is what's valuable to me. Okay, so you want to find out what is going to be the value marker, or some people will say that's the buy button. I'm not necessarily looking for the buy button. What I'm trying to uncover is what is going to be the thing that they really want to achieve. I want to find out what the problem is. Okay, so if I can identify the problem, then I can start to look to see if I have a solution for them. All right, so let's read it. Great. Can you please tell me what your biggest motivation is for taking the time and making the effort to bring your child into class? Now let's pause, because there's 3 parts to this sentence that were very important for me to read. Now it reads kind of maybe a little clunky, but I want you to understand the psychology behind the question. Okay, let's first talk about what's your biggest motivation. there. That's the value. That is the problem that I am trying to uncover and find out what it is. Because there was only two things that I did in my service-based business. That was a martial arts school, because even though it was martial arts, I didn't just teach martial arts. Matter of fact, I barely taught any martial arts. It was a confidence building center for my Building Powerful Kids, and it was a focus-driven center. So I helped solve confidence problems and focus problems. So focus could be like they're just having a hard time paying attention in class. They could have ADD, they could have ADHD, things like that. And then there was the confidence. They were shy, they were timid, they were stuck in their own shell. There was something going on with their confidence. They didn't want to stand up for themselves. They were getting bullied, things like that. Those were the only two things that I solved. So I wanted to know what that main problem was, the biggest motivation. That is going to be the value that I need to drive. Okay? Then, now, let's go to the next part of this. Tell me what your biggest motivation is for taking the time and making the effort to bring your child into class. I'm already validating them. Okay? I'm validating them and helping them, basically giving them a verbal high five, like, hey, great on you for taking the time and making the effort. Okay? I wanted them to know that parents who did that were outstanding parents. Parents who are willing to come in and bring their child to me for these things and these challenges, these problems. I want them to know that they were outstanding. Okay. So that is very big on that. So now from there, we just write down what it was. They're shy. I'm really having a hard time, with them standing up for themselves or speaking up in class or anything like that. So if it was something about shyness, we would write it all down. Then the next part of this, okay, can you tell me about that? What do you mean? What exactly are you referring to when you say they're shy? Okay, again, I want to dig into the value, dig into the problem, uncovering deeper. I just didn't want to keep it at the surface. They're shy. Well, what does shy mean? What does that mean to them? Where are they shy? When are they shy? Who are they shy around? I want to uncover all of that. And I asked my sales professionals to do that, not just find out some surface level answer to the question. And then the next part of that, why is blank important to you? Why is building confidence important to you? Okay, now I start to shift to find out a little bit more of why is that important to them, that confidence is going to be important for their child. Okay, so those were the big things on step 2. Now, step 3 is identifying pain. Here's something important that I discovered with humans and human nature. And you've probably discovered this maybe yourself as well, is humans only make changes or only kind of respond to pain. They don't respond to, like, when things are going great and everything is just pure pleasure for them. They don't really have any driving force behind their themselves. They just kind of stay stagnant, stay where they're at. It isn't until things are painful that they go and try to find a solution to that pain. Okay, so step 3 was identifying pain. On this, you're going to see this very first question here. Why are you serious about building confidence right now? All right, why are you serious about having Dylan get focused right now? What I wanted to kind of, in a sense, pour salt on that wound. I wanted to know what was so painful about it. Then after I got done with trying to find out the pain, then I start to dig in a little bit more. So you'll see these questions. They kind of keep going a little bit more until I get down to enough pain points that they're kind of like, okay, I feel it. I understand now. All right. So what have you done previously to try to fix this? So now I want to know what they've done previously, because if they've already gone through, say, a martial arts school, okay, or maybe for you, a similar business. Maybe they've already done that with some other business or some other solution that was very similar to yours. I want to know what they tried, because if they've already tried that, then let me explain how my program is going to be different within the same industry, okay? If they've done a whole bunch of other things that were not, meaning that they didn't do in my solution yet, or with my type of industry or my type of business, maybe they've done all these other things that I know didn't work. So for myself, I knew a lot of parents tried soccer, tried baseball, tried basketball, tried football, tried tennis, tried lacrosse. They put their child into almost every single sport, And then most of the time, mine was the last option. They kind of came down to the end, their end point there, that they just couldn't find anything that worked. Okay. Then I'd ask, how long has this been going on? I want to know, has this been something that's been going on for 1 month? Has it been going on for 6 months? 6 months? Has it been going on for the last 5 years, since basically they've been 3 years old if they're coming to me at 8? Okay, so I want to know how long they've been struggling at this, because the shorter that they've been struggling at it, I would take a different approach versus if they've been struggling at it for a long time. Okay, now this next question: what isn't working for you? I want to know what's not working. What are they doing now that isn't driving any change whatsoever? Okay, why do you think it isn't working? Again, why? Why is it that you think it's not working? Now that is that step 3, identifying pain. Then I go on to step 4. Okay, step 4 is to help them see the change, that they could have for their child if things would shift. Okay, so that question is, okay, what are you hoping they will achieve in the next 6 to 12 months? Now, listen to what I asked. The next 6 to 12 months. I didn't say in the next 6 to 12 days, because I wanted them to already unconsciously hear that this isn't a program where change doesn't happen overnight. And you and I know this. Even if you were coming to me for sales training, sales script improvement, and anything evolved with sales or achieving more, it isn't going to happen in just 6 days or 12 days. It's a process. The people who just want instant gratification, I'm not interested in. And it was the same thing here. The people who just wanted quick, who wanted fast change, I didn't want them in my program. As I still don't want those people in my program. I want them to make a commitment that will actually drive change, because 6 to 12 months, I knew a student that was with me for that long would have changed the rest of their life. Okay, so that 6 to 12 months was an unconscious way of me already kind of painting the picture that my program isn't just something that they do for 6 to 12 days. It's something that they're probably going to be doing 6 to 12 months or longer. All right, now what would that do for you? Okay, again, what will these things do? I want them to start to paint that future picture. A lot of people like to call this future pacing or something like that. I wasn't trying to do any kind of sales tactics or tricks or any sales magic. I just wanted for them to start to see what that change was like. I wanted to hear what it meant to them for them to have change. Okay, how would that change your life and your child's life? I wanted to know how it would change it. What things would improve? What would be better for them? How would it be better for their child? Because it wasn't just for them, it was for their child. All right. So step 4 was to see the change. Now I continued to ask questions a little deeper. All right. The next question on here: what would your biggest fear be if nothing else changed and it doesn't get done? Okay. For that part, I wanted to know the fear behind it. And the reason why I want to know the fear behind it is because fear is one of our biggest motivators. It's what gets us to do things more than anything else. There's only 2 ways that motivate us: through desire or fear. And I wanted to know what is driving their fear. What is it that they don't want to see happen in the future? For, say, a parent coming to me for shyness, they didn't want to see their child struggle with confidence when they got into like a teenage year or possibly into adult years. All right. Now, additional questions that were in the step 4 was: what would your biggest fear be if nothing else changed and it doesn't get done? Your child doesn't achieve what you hope for. They don't get the skills you want. What does that look like? Again, I want to know what drove the fear behind that, because fear is one of our biggest motivators. And if I could find out what that fear was, I could start to tap into them understanding why this program was so important to them and what it would do to drive change. Because for me, driving change was the most important thing. I wanted to see a behavioral change for their child so they would actually get the success. And these children and adults and teens that came to me, they actually did get that change. Okay, so that was the biggest thing for step 4. Now let's get into step 5. Step 5 was, again, setting expectations now, and then getting additional permission. Okay, now here's with a questioning that I used in this. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not important at all and 10 being extremely important, how important is this for you? Okay, I want to know, was this something that was important to them, mildly important to them, or extremely important to them? Again, I only accepted people who were 9s and 10s. I didn't tell them, you got to be a 9 and 10, and that was it. I asked them, because if they said, I'm a 10, great, then I think this program is going to be a good fit for you. If they said, maybe more along the lines of a 7, I would confront that. A lot of people are afraid to confront a customer that's in front of them. I'd be like, okay, so you told me all this about what your fears were, what you wanted, the problem that you're trying to solve. Why are you only at a 7 and not at a 10? I want to know why they weren't. Why weren't they higher? Why wasn't this important to them? And if they're like, well, they were kind of hemming around the answer, then I would just basically end the conversation, say, I don't think this program is going to be a fit for you. I wouldn't accept them into my program. If they weren't a 9 or 10, I wouldn't accept them. The reason why is, over the years, I discovered that if people are at a 9 or a 10, no matter what I did, it wouldn't matter to them, and it wasn't important, and they would either A, leave before they could actually see the true behavioral change, or they just wouldn't care. In addition to that, those people would never refer me any additional customers as well. So I wasn't interested in anybody below a 9. The next question, so what you're currently doing is not working, correct? I want them to say, yes, it's not working. Because if something that they're currently doing is working, why do they need to do something different? Don't change what already works. Continue doing that. And I would point them to continue doing that. This was not some kind of sales tactic here again. I was asking because I didn't want people in my program that things were working for them. Don't change the system that's already working for you. Keep doing it. I know that the power of consistency on something that is working, all right? And it now sounds like it is time to finally do something about it. Would that be correct? Want them to say, yes, now is the time. Important for them to say now, because I'm not looking to enroll somebody 6 months from now that has talked to me here. If I could enroll them now, great. That's quicker to the close. And you should know this as a sales professional as well. If they say no, then again, I would make a shift from there. Again, then I would continue on this, because now I'm starting to go to the permission side again. Okay, Jeff, based on what you're telling me and what you are looking for, I feel strongly that I can help your child achieve confidence. All right. Would you like me to show you a little of how we could do that and what would be involved? Again, I'm looking for them to say, yes, I want to know how you could do this. From there, now I start to get into the pitch. Do you see how I was trying to find out their problem and then to see if my solution, which I'm going to present next, is going to actually be in alignment with their problem? Up to this point, if I couldn't uncover all of that, then there was no reason for me to ever even pitch my services or pitch my product or pitch anything, because it never would have helped them in the first place. And even if they would have said, yes, I want that, but yet I know it's not going to help them, I have no desire to sell it to them. I don't want people to buy something that is not going to help, or it's going to be just another thing that's going to waste their time. All right. And if they say yes, then I'd say, fantastic. Here's what we would be doing in the program with your child. Now I would be going into my presentation. And I did this with this side of it. I would go into, here's the physical development part, the 30%. These are the basics and foundation of achievement through effort. I go over those. I go over each and every single one of those little 3 blocks that I have there. Then I would go over the mental skill development, the 70% part, because my program was 70%, and I would argue even at times 80% mental in the mindset things that I was teaching, and only 20% of it was physical. Because I knew mindset was going to be the number one thing that took you to success in life, and not just success in being able to defend against a bully or to be able to defend against somebody who's physically trying to harm you. So this mental skill development was important for me, and I covered it in detail. And remember, this presentation part, then I spent time explaining it to him, going into deeper things. After I would get done with this 2-page presentation, that's all it was 2 pages, then I would go into step 6. And step 6 was make the offer. Making the offer was simply just going over a few questions and seeing if this was going to be the right thing. So I would go over this and I would ask them, okay, does this sound like the type of help you are looking for? Again, getting them to say yes, or finding out if it was, no, that's not really what I thought or what I was looking for. I was looking for something a little different. Okay, if it was something that was a little different, then what did they have in mind? Because if I still couldn't find out where they were at, I wasn't going to make the offer yet. I still want to get another yes, because again, I'm starting to build those yeses so then I could also start to eliminate as many objections as I possibly can, which I will talk in another video about zero resistance selling. Okay. So after they would say yes or they would say no, whichever one it was, I say, great. If they'd say yes, great. I just have a few more questions for you and then I'll give you my recommendations. Do the times and days per week we have in our schedule fit with your schedule? Okay. It was important for me to know if their schedule would fit, because if it wouldn't fit, if they're like, okay, my schedule is Mondays and Wednesdays for this time, for this age group and for your child, if they'd be like, no, that doesn't fit for me, then either I would try to find something that would fit, or I just say, okay, well, then I guess this isn't the right program. And maybe you just need to keep looking around for a schedule that does fit. Then I'll go into, is our location convenient for you and can you get Dylan here? Okay. I want to know if they had to drive a far distance or not, because if they had to drive a super far distance, maybe mine isn't the right fit. Maybe they need to continue just to keep looking in their area where they know that they can consistently get to. All right. Now, the next question I'd say is, so Jeff, I have one last question for you. Do you want me to help Dylan and your family? That is one of a very important question that I discovered over my time in a service-based business, that I needed to ask that question, because they could have listened to all of that at this point. If they, in their minds, didn't feel like I was the right person to help them or the right program to help them or anything like that, then I didn't want to move forward. I didn't want to ask the question and make the offer and show them my pricing and everything else that was involved. I wanted to know if they wanted the help. Okay. If they didn't want the help, then move on. If they are like, yes, I want the help. I want you to help me. Okay. And the reason I said help is because many people came to me, and they still come to me even in this setting for sales training. And do you want my help or not? If you don't want my help, then why do we even want to, why do you even want to spend any money, or why do you even want to invest in this? Go find somebody that you do want the help from, or that you feel is most important. So again, a lot of these questions were all about, I don't want to waste anybody's time. All right. Then I would move on to, great. Based on what you told me, I believe our Building Powerful Kids program will be a great fit for you and your family to get confidence and shyness elimination for your child. Okay. Those are I would put their pain points in there because it was important for me to do this. And again, remember this, even though I've gone through all this and you might be thinking, oh, these were just a bunch of sales tactics, tricks, and all this stuff, and psychological things that were getting people at no, it is not. There was very important things in here that I did that I wanted to uncover, because I knew what I could do. I was confident about that. I was confident that if I got a student, I knew what I could do for them. And I wanted to make sure that this lined up with what they want help with. Now, the remainder of the questions, I want you to understand that this isn't for everyone. Now I'm starting to set more expectations and starting to get them to understand this next part before I start to put into basically my program and everything else. This program does take time and commitment for your child to achieve. It will, to achieve in the sense I put in confidence or whichever. It will take work and practice to achieve what you hope. Are you ready for that kind of commitment? Again, I'd have them write yes or no. Are they, yes, I am ready for that kind of commitment. And here's the beautiful part. I never signed anybody up and said, hey, you're going to need to sign up for a 1-year program, 2-year program, 4-year program. I didn't do that. I didn't do that crap. Okay. It was month to month. You could leave anytime you wanted to. I didn't force anybody there, but I wanted to set the expectation that this was going to be a time commitment, meaning you're going to need to bring your child 2 days a week, or 3 days a week, whatever it was. Okay. They were going to need to at least put in 6 to 12 months of commitment. That also is important for the child to understand that as well, that they understand and learn how to put consistency and commitment together. All right. all of these things were important for not just the sales cycle or even the buyer cycle. It was important for the whole holistic approach of the sales process. And when you did it this way, it helped not only just close higher rates, but it also helped a individual get the change that they wanted in their life and actually change their life for the better. Okay, so this is how I closed 83% of the people who sat down in front of me by going over this process, by taking the time face to face, one to one, or many times I moved this from one to many selling. Okay, meaning I would bring in a group of people who would try out my program for a day, and then I would sit them down, all 5, 10, 15, 20 of them, however many came in at that one time. I would sit them down and go over this individually with them. And that is a video for another time, but I can explain to you, I did this whole process with 10 people right in front of me all at once. And I can explain that in another video. If you just comment in the bottom and tell me that you want me to make that video, I'll make that video for you. Okay, so that's how I did it. And if it's something that you want to do as well, if you want help with this kind of thing, in the video, there's a link to work with me, and you can sign up for like a 45-minute session, and we can go over your script and your ideas and see how we can get your steps in maybe step 1 to 5 or step 1 to 6 on your sales cycle and improve your close rates from wherever you're at to possibly 80 to 90% close rates as well. So let me know in the comments what you want. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about how to even sell more, even in a retail space, not just a service-based business, but how to do it in retail or in selling physical products. If you want to see that, watch that video next.